Herman Wallace died today and should be remembered as a great man who suffered brutal oppression and still, for the vast majority of his life, worked on behalf of others. And I'm a person who worked on his behalf for a short period of time at least, and have spoken on his behalf since I learned of his struggle. I learned of his struggle in 2001 from Robert King in New York City. And I've never spoken about these matters until today, upon finding out this morning that Herman Wallace has died. There's a time period in Herman's incarceration, and for the purpose of anybody who doesn't know, 41 plus years in solitary confinement, the longest ever by any human being, and for crimes he didn't commit, an innocent man, but that's in the United States, not Siberia. And Louisiana for its expression after the federal government cleared Herman Wallace of all charges, absolving him, a liberated man at last to be able to die outside of prison. The state of Louisiana to allow those people in that parish to continue through the mechanism of the law before he passed away yesterday. To re-indict him is shameful and ought to be met with punishment. It is wrong. Herman and I exchanged letters, as did my partner at the time, mother of my child, in 2001, 2, 3, up to 5 perhaps. And I worked on his behalf through the mechanism of the public artist on his behalf, Rigo 23, as thousands of others did, and came to the cause as thousands of others did. And so I assume there are only millions of people with stories like this one, which I've never told, but I'd like to tell on the passing of Herman Wallace, about how I added to his pain. In the spring of 2002, when we were pregnant and I was installing work with Rigo 23 and my own work in different places, living in Los Angeles, we had a gallery show that was scheduled to open on September 11th of 2002, 1 year after the events that transpired in New York, D.C., Pennsylvania, well, really all over the country in 2001. That was to run 26 days, and an installation of artist books were curated to be put into that space. There was a lot of work involved and millions of dollars worth of art. And on the outside of the building, Rigo 23 had painted one of an edition of, shall we say, it was 9 at the time, I believe, and there may be 15 by now, of the Panther logo designed and drawn originally by Emory Douglas, blown up with the cage either burst, no, in that case I believe it was closed. I've been around several of these, so forgive me for not remembering. But that was the piece that Rigo 23 contributed to the show. Us Equals Them was the name of the show. You can read all about this in another place. And inside the gallery, as the curator of the show, I had some work, small things in the show, but I also had an opportunity to use a physical space thanks to Frank Sosa, the owner of the gallery. And there was a large space there, and I took an older photo of Emory Douglas's from the 70s, I believe, and it's a portrait of the Angola Three, and like a black line drawing that Emory Douglas had done to make available, so you could simply put it on overhead and put it on the wall and blow it up to whatever size you like. And using a black background and white paint pen, Christopher Wilde, C.K. Wilde and I, in advance of the opening, put up that portrait and had literature there about the Angola Three. as one element of this whole show. The whole show was many things. You can, people who were there may could tell you. You can also see on the internet the image. At the time, I was photographing slide footage for art purposes, and took a slide image of the wall outside, Rigo 23's piece outside. The image was of the cage is actually breaking and the panther coming out. But the message was uncage the panther, I believe. And inside Christopher Wilde and I had done the portraits, and we had literature, and as again, this was a beautiful work. I believe it was painted out sometime in 2005, 6, perhaps. I photographed that wall with slide footage, processed the footage, came back to the gallery, spoke with Rigo 23 only. I did not consult Marina. I did not consult other supporters who may have been mailing things to Herman over the years in advance of doing this. And I looked at him, and I had the envelope in my hand, and I had the slide in my hand, and as the curator of the show, I asked him, in all courage, should I put this slide in this letter that we're sending to Herman? And he approved it, and I approved it, and I put it in, and I sealed it, and I mailed it. Now, I've only told this story once before, and that was to Robert King. I told Robert in 2007, I believe. I'm not sure when it was. It was after the... I told Robert because I felt compelled to do so, and I felt concerned that I was the cause of pain for Herman. And he had received the materials, and they had been searched as all his material, and so many others. This brutality is common, to the tune of hundreds of political prisoners in the United States today, suffering. And we've got to admit it, and refocus quickly some energy on loving people who live here, who could be actually fantastic contributors to our society. I found out that Herman was searched multiple times, and that they claimed that a shiv that he had made was in his possession, which had been planted upon him, and that he was put into a different level of security that was much more harsh than the position he was in. Herman Wallace should be remembered as a great man who suffered brutal oppression and throughout fought for the rights of and cared for others. M.T. Karthik, 2013.